Hello everyone and good evening. Our today's aim is to have a brief discussion on the life cycle of the exception object. So whenever in a method an exception is created, then the method creates an object and passes it on to the JVM. This object is known as the exception object. The object contains the information and the description of the exception occurred, along with the statement or the method at which this exception has occurred. So creating an object and handling it in the runtime is called throwing an exception. So there might be a number of methods to get where the actual exception has occurred. These number of methods are called as the call stack. Now the concept of call stack will further help us to elaborate the life cycle of the exception object. So when the exception has occurred in a particular method, then the runtime searches for that particular method in the call stack. Now, an exception handler, that is a block of code which is written to handle these exceptions, is searched by the runtime. Now, this searching has a particular order. The Java runtime starts from searching from the method where the exception has occurred and proceeds in the reverse order in which the methods are called. So when the runtime finds an exception handler that contains the code which can handle the given exception, then the following lines of the statement under the exception handler is executed. Or else, if the runtime does not find any exception handler or any method which has an exception handler present to handle these exceptions, then the program terminates abnormally. It is important to note that when the runtime does not find any exception handler in the methods present in the call stack, then it goes or it passes the value to the default exception handler. This default exception handler will then print in the console the exception arised as well as the line of the statement at which the given exception has occurred. It is also very important to note that the type of the exception thrown must match with the type of the exception the exception handler will catch. So if these two exceptions do not match, then the runtime will not pass this exception object to the particular exception handler, and thus the life cycle of the object ends. So this sums up our brief review on the life cycle of the object and how the runtime and how our runtime will pass or execute the exceptions and finally the end of the object life. Thank you.